and access this. Let me go to the view. Is the slideshow showing? It is on my screen. The 5-6 slides.
Yes.
Okay. All right. My name is Lenny Ryan. I'm co-chair of the Capacity Development Committee for Research for Life. We have an excellent speaker today. I want to give you a little bit of background about what Research for Life is focusing on besides just making material available to people in the Global South. So we have two current co-chairs, Jahan, my colleague Jahan Al-Jaraya, and myself, and we get a lot of support from these individuals from the Information Training and Outreach Center for Africa, ITOCA, and in fact, Michael is coordinating the Zoom and the registration, and we will go on from there. Let's see. So our vision has changed a bit, and we're looking more at than just donating access to making it more reciprocal. One of our aims is to significantly increase participation of researchers from lower income countries. We're committed to supporting local research networks. The ongoing webinar series is one of the tools we use, and our previous webinars are listed below. Okay, so many hurdles remain in place for researchers in the Global South, and this is growing urgency to increase research participation from these underrepresented regions, and this is linked to the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So our basic goal is SG 17, which is Partnerships for Goals, and we work. It's a partnership between UN agencies and commercial publishers, such as the company that the publisher Miriam works for. Okay, so we have started to put these little at the end of our presentations, these little slides. So I wanted to mention it. This is one about background of the Sustainable Development Goals, and then we note that we seem to hit on every one because we have information on so many different topics, as you can see in the second paragraph. But of course, the key ones are SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals, 10, which is Reduce Inequities, 4, Quality Education, and then Gender Equity. So we are trying to, as we do our projects, we try to remember that we're linked to all these different goals and how important they are. So Miriam Maus is the Chief Publishing Officer at IOP Publishing, which is in Bristol, England, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
She's responsible for creation, delivery of organization publishing, and researcher engagement strategy. But in the second paragraph, things I like to give her the background to do this presentation so well. Leadership role in publishing ethics and harnessing the power of technology. What really happened is I went to the Research for Life General Partners meeting in July, and Miriam made a presentation, and I said, we need to get her to do a webinar. So please, everyone, welcome Miriam, and there will be a lot of information. You can put questions in chat, and also we can ask questions at the end. Thank you very much, and I will stop sharing, and you go ahead.
Thank you, Lenny, for that intro. I'm going to try and share my screen. If you just give me one second.
There you go.
Okay, I'm just trying to get this into slideshow. Okay, so you should see this, just the slide for the slideshow now for my presentation. Is that right? Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. It's great to see so many people on this webinar. I can tell a count of 47, so that's a reassuringly and a little bit intimidatingly large group, but hopefully we'll have an interesting discussion this afternoon. As Lenny said, I'm a publishing professional. I'm Chief Publishing Officer at the Institute of Physics Publishing in the UK. So I'm going to start with a short caveat to say that I'm not an AI professional. I'm not a technologist. I'm a publisher, and I'm a user of AI tools in my professional and private life. So the presentation today is really observations I have made in my with my colleagues and with people we work with externally, researchers, about the impact of artificial intelligence. It's a very big topic. It's evolving all the time. So almost as soon as you write a presentation, you have to update it. So if something I tell you doesn't quite resonate, or you think that actually there are different views to about a certain point, please feel free to share it. I'm here to learn as much as you are. The idea is really that I, kind of give you a very quick tour about the main areas where I see AI impacting publishing. So I have broken up my presentation into three parts. The first part is to look at research practice. So that's people out in the community doing science, doing technology research that use AI. Then I'm going to talk about the publishing industry, so organizations like mine that publish journals, books, conference proceedings. And then I'm going to have a very short part of the presentation about intellectual property, so copyright and AI, because that is quite a complex area, and I just wanted to make sure that at least we touch on that. Before I delve into the content of my presentation, I wasn't sure how many experts there are on the call. So I just want to make clear that the terminology around AI isn't always very clean. So artificial intelligence and machine learning are two slightly different things. A lot of the applications of technology we see at the moment in the areas I'm talking about are actually machine learning or automation rather than AI, but often they are referred to as AI because that is fast becoming the sort of the catch-all phrase for this technology. Just to make it a little bit easier for me to speak and not have to say AI and machine learning or machine learning, I'm going to refer to AI generically as a term that describes technology that help humans do the work they need to do better. So I'm going to start by talking about the researchers. And if technology works, I'm going to show you a short video of people we work with at IOP, at our Institute of Physics. So they are physicists and a chemist, and they are going to talk very briefly about how they see AI impacting the work they do in their universities.
I'm Keith Butler. I'm an associate professor in computational chemistry at University College London.
I'm Pınar Acar, and I am an associate professor at the Mechanical Engineering Department of Virginia Tech.
So it kind of all stages of the process, let's say, when you're starting a research project or something and you want to do, like, I'd like to get an overview, get a feel of what this field is like. I think it's extremely useful.
I certainly think AI will actually continue to improve research efficiency, especially in the areas of literature reviews, collaborations, and as well as administrative tasks.
So what I do is computational material science. So designing new materials, just doing routine analysis, even without orchestrating all these agents, you can still do things like routine analysis that can be speeded up a lot. And especially this is becoming quite important because people are now able to collect data a lot quicker in these experiments. Actually analyzing and working out what the interesting data is becoming more important. You can't just use people to keep up with the rates at which data is being generated.
One exciting development could be AI tools that don't just match text, but can actually analyze content in articles so that they can identify similar research. And I think that will be a game changer for authors in their literature reviews. I mean, I believe definitely it has the potential to bring research to a wider audience, but also that depends on how it is applied.
If it's promoting the kind of certain types of work or things like that, it's obviously at the expense of others, and it may be that you find that the things that get recommended become a little bit more uniform and a little bit less. You're less likely to find a kind of very unusual paper, I'd say, by searching with GPT than you are with something like Google Scholar.
Publishers could improve these models to make better match papers with the right audience. It is actually kind of like a difficult experience to identify the best funding program or the best manuscript that will be getting you to the right audience that you would like to get your research into. That is why I think there is a role for publishers to improve these AI tools so that those matches can happen more efficiently.
In my area of material science, it's not such a big deal, but in areas like health, then anonymity of data and so on is extraordinarily important.
The first things I think of are data privacy, intellectual property rights, and the bias, because we don't know what the pre-training data consisted of. I believe, first of all, the AI developers need to be more transparent about how data is used and stored. And I believe that researchers also should have the option to opt out of contributing their data.
But yeah, so with health data and human type of data, there are clearly risks that something used in training can leak out. It is intellectual property that goes into training these models, and they could have never been built without that input that people had created before.
And definitely establishing such clear ethical guidelines for AI use in research would be helpful for data protection, and also definitely would build some in the users.
So hopefully you picked up some interesting insights there from these researchers. I'm going to pick up some of the topics they talked about, but I thought it was helpful just to set up this webinar to hear from the people who are, you know, kind of progressing science and research and how they are embracing this new technology. And as was obvious from just the two examples I've shown you, there's huge opportunity for AI to transform research practice across all disciplines, and particularly in applied areas. However, when we ask researchers how they actually use AI in their day-to-day work, it shows that the most common use of AI is very much in the sort of organization of information and the preparation of research outputs for publication. So helping with translation, that is a very widespread use case, and so is making sure that the paper you've submitted is proofread and is legible and can be presented to a journal. So there is still some opportunity for researchers to move AI deeper into their workflow. But this data, which I've taken from a survey done by Wiley, suggests that people are sort of feeling their way into it currently. When I speak to researchers and when my colleagues speak to researchers about what they see the real opportunities right now in AI and where they see limitations, it's quite clear that there are certain themes. So as I said just now, efficiency gains by using AI are really, really obvious. And I'm sure many of you use whatever AI tool to help you read something quickly, summarize something quickly, improve an email you may want to send or a report you may want to use. So there's application here that makes it easier for people to get through the administrative tasks they are doing. There is also, and that was mentioned in that video very briefly, there's also a challenge that many researchers have, that the sheer amount of research that could be relevant to their specialism is growing all the time, and they're looking for tools like AI-driven systems to help them connect the dots between certain bits of information and point them toward the outputs and the published literature that is most relevant to them. So somebody at a conference talked about the current benefits of AI as glamorous, not glamorous, but important. And I think that sums it up very clearly. There are clearly some things AI can't do, and that's where creativity comes in. So AI systems at this moment aren't able to replicate the creativity that a human brain, and especially a human science, human research brain has. So they can generate a hypothesis, a new hypothesis for a researcher to pursue, but they can't robustly prove it. They can highlight things as discoveries, but on closer inspection, it shows that often what an AI system presents as novel is actually a rediscovery. Data is a really fruitful area for the application of AI, and a lot of people use AI to analyze data. However, what we mustn't forget when we consider this is that generating new data is absolutely crucial for progress in science and research, and we need to ensure that we reward that, and the system rewards that, because if everybody just uses AI tools to look at existing data, then eventually we will run out of new things to discover. And then, of course, training is absolutely important. The one of the opportunities and challenges with AI technology is that it's available to everybody. We all can get to the tools relatively easy, relatively cheaply, but there's then very little opportunity to really learn how to use them and how to understand what the opportunities and the challenges are. There is always an ethical consideration in all new technology areas, and I've went earlier this year to a conference where somebody represented a group of medical researchers talking about AI, and that group, based in North America, had come up with a sort of the principles of how AI should be applied, whilst making sure that scientific integrity is safeguarded. There are lots of other examples that provide guardrails and guidelines. I thought these 5 were very good and very representative, so that's why I'm sharing it with you here. So the 5 principles that this particular group of researchers felt were important to adhere to when using AI is, number 1, that you have to be transparent about it. You have to be clear that where, how, and when you have used AI in your research journey. AI-generated content and analysis need to be verified by experts in the field. Don't just take whatever the AI system gives you and take it as correct and read. Documentation of AI-generated data is just as important as documentation of any other data. So there needs to be an audit trail for all data, even when it comes out of AI. Ethics and quality always need to be borne in mind when using AI tools. We know that a lot of AI tools have inbuilt bias. You need to be aware of this when you use it and counter it if you can. And then finally, this isn't a static area. There's always more and new opportunity to use the system. So every time a new system comes online or a new functionality, there should be more monitoring, oversight, and also making sure that the public that is the beneficiary of your, in the case of this example, medical research, understands how AI fits into the work that that community is doing. As I said, there are a lot of other examples that provide these guidelines, but I thought this was a good comprehensive one that really shows how the research community is thinking about using AI responsibly. I'm going to now move on to talk about AI in scholarly publishing. So this is my area of professional experience. And there are really 2 areas where AI is impacting our day-to-day work. One is in the area of policies, and one is in the area of workflow and processes. And I'm briefly going to talk about both. There isn't a day that goes by that we don't think about how we need to adjust our policy, and especially our authorship policies, to make sure that our authors understand what is acceptable in terms of use of AI when they prepare research for publication, when they write their manuscripts. The two examples of policies that are, in my view at least, most comprehensive and most commonly used are one's the Committee on Publication Ethics COPE guidelines, and then the other ones are the STM Association's Generative AI guidelines. They are both looking at sort of roughly the same areas, and as principles, what these policies mandate is that generative AI cannot be an author. You can't generate a paper and then say the user is ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. To be an author of a paper, you have to be accountable for that, what is in the paper and the content, and that can only happen if the author is human. When authors use generative AI to draft their manuscript or improve it, they really have to disclose how and where this usage has occurred, and make sure that the publisher and the peer reviewers that look at their manuscript understand how AI has fed into what is being presented. And finally, authors are responsible and accountable for all the content in their paper, even if it was produced by an AI tool. If authors use AI to analyze bits of data and then it turns out that that analysis was wrong, that the author is still answerable for that error, even though they haven't done the analysis themselves. So I think that's really important. These policies go into a lot more detail about responsible use of AI and disclosure and how disclosure should happen. I don't have time to go into that, but if you are interested, I encourage you to take a look at either the COPE website or the STM website. Technology in publishing technology is a really fruitful area for the application of AI in publishing, and I will say that new technologies have always helped scholarly publishers to improve efficiency, speed, quality, and accuracy. We have started many years ago to use automation and machine learning for plagiarism detection, for example, or to find reviewers for our papers. Those use cases still apply, and they're getting better, and AI is helping to make the accuracy of those uses much more reliable. But we are now moving into more sophisticated areas where technology can help a publisher to assess the scope of a paper without necessarily having to be an expert in the field. Assessing novelty, is this a new finding, or is it something that is confirming what has already been published? And of course, the area of integrity. Has this paper been prepared to the standards that a certain journal requires for their manuscript? So we're seeing a real proliferation of the application of technologies to help publishing processes become more sophisticated. And for somebody like me who, who runs a team of researchers and editors and thinks about technology and modernizing workflows and systems all the time, I have no shortage of opportunity to engage with vendors and suppliers for new systems. So here are the sort of the main areas where technology is becoming very sophisticated very fast in publishing. So anything from systems that help you to match a manuscript to a certain journal, to checking the reproducibility of the research presented and the methodology, to author support tools, so helping authors to make sure that their manuscript has been checked for completeness and for errors. So this is you will see publishers use a lot more AI-driven technology, and the technology that is already in the publishing workflow will change over the next few years. I'm now going to move on to talk about using AI, perception of using AI in manuscripts and in peer review. I've talked about the potential of it, but now I want to talk a little bit about what the communities, where they are, what they think is ethical and a responsible use of AI. I'm drawing here on a survey that Nature did a little while ago, earlier in the year, and that has been published in Nature. At the end of my slideshow, I have a list of further readings. So if you want to look this up and find out more, then I encourage you to go to that article. But I'm just going to very briefly talk through some of their findings. So one of the questions that the survey respondents were asked was, what about using AI in editing and translating your research article? And the options they were given ranged from this is totally appropriate, absolutely no problem using AI in this use case, to this shouldn't be, the AI shouldn't be anywhere near this. And in the middle, there's sort of it could be appropriate if certain conditions apply around disclosure. So at the top here is the use case that a researcher uses a AI tool to improve their articles, helping for suggestions about how to make it clearer, how to make the grammar more concise and better. But they don't disclose the use of AI. Only about 35% of people thought that was totally fine as it is. A further 35% of people thought it's only appropriate if you let the publisher know that you've used AI. And then the last 30% thought it wasn't appropriate at all. So you can see there's a sort of third split of how this should be used. However, the second use case that was put to the respondents was about translating an article and in a language that the author doesn't understand, and then submitting it to a journal. And here, the answers are a little bit clearer. That a translation that's a technical activity that really needs to be checked by somebody who understands the language that is being translated into. So the message here is that most people thought that just relying on AI to do a translation is not enough. Even though AI-driven translations are very good, there is still